Are we live? Well, I just want to welcome everyone today and introduce myself. My name is Eileen Carter, and I'm the social media manager for the City of New Orleans. And I just want you all to know that we hear you. So every now and then we will be popping into different departments and finding out what's going on. So when we hear stuff bubbling up on social media, we want to get the answers for you. So we know that there's a lot on this ballot coming up on December 5th. And we want everyone to know that early voting is right now through November 28th. So make sure you get out and early vote. We want to make sure you do that. And election day is December 5th. December 5th. I've been living in COVID land too long. We have been living in COVID land too long. So we wanted to make sure we got some of those things out the way. There are 3 propositions on the ballot, 1, 2, and 3. And we are here with Jeff Schwartz, the Director of Economic Development for the City of New Orleans, and we are here to talk about Proposition 3.
That's right.
I would want your job right now, Jeff. But I am so happy that you are here because you have worked with the residents through Hard Rock and really, held hand all of those businesses. So we want to thank you for all the hard work that you've done and for your office.
My pleasure.
And now we have another job for you because the job's never end.
It's been a year.
It has definitely been a year, and Proposition 3 is on the ballot, and there's just been some confusion regarding all of them. And so we wanted to make sure we got the information because our residents have been asking for it. So give us a short breakdown of what it is, and then I'm going to just kind of poke you with some questions the residents have had.
That sounds great. Thanks, Eileen. Hello, everybody. Proposition 3 is the one that's nearest and dearest to my heart. It is the Housing and Economic Development Millage. It is a 20-year millage that will start in 2021, and it will generate over $177 million for affordable housing, job creation, and small businesses over the next 20 years.
Wait, say that again? How much?
$177 million.
How many years?
20 years.
Okay, wait, one more time. Say it again.
177 million over 20 years.
Okay, good. It's important because, we hear a lot of numbers, but this is for economic development, 177 million, 20 years.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. And thank you for emphasizing that because I don't think, especially coming out of the COVID pandemic, that there are more pressing issues that face our city today than making sure people can stay in their houses, that they have jobs and workforce training, and that small businesses are supported in all of the ways that we know our businesses deeply need the support. So we are extremely excited about this, but we know we need folks to get out there and vote, be really educated, and understand what it is that they're voting for.
So this has been on our residents' mind. Is this a renewal or an increase? What's the deal? Please explain it. They got a lot going on.
Great question. The mayor made the decision early on in this process, well before COVID, that we were going to go with a straight line renewal. This is not a tax increase.
Wait, what?
It's not a tax increase.
Wait, what?
5.82 mils from the expiring villages, 5.82 mils for the next 20 years. So this is not a tax increase. This is a straight line renewal with some reprioritization of some of the funding within that, but housing and economic development will see a slight increase, but they will largely enjoy the benefits of the last 29 years of having a housing and economic development millage. That work will continue for the next 20.
Next 20.
Yep.
And boy, do we need it now.
Desperately. Okay,
so the flip side, we need to know, that's the great side. What happens if it doesn't happen?
That is the question that keeps...
Because right now we have COVID, we had cyber attack, we had Mardi Gras, we lost 65% of sales tax or something like that recently. I was like,
we've lost
so we need you.
It's, we need all of us to step up in this regard. We've had a over $2.3 billion with a B decline just in sales tax activity alone.
Wow.
Which is partly what you see reflected in the city's budget gap, right? The $80 to $100 million that everyone's talking about. We know that New Orleans has been deeply wounded by COVID, just like every other city in the country. These dollars are crucial to our economic development work, our housing work. If we don't pass this, the work doesn't happen. There is no magic
pot of money.
Nothing. Nothing happens.
Wait, so if we don't do this, what happens?
We don't do economic development work in the city in any capacity like what we're currently doing. Yep.
I think this is something that a lot of residents did not understand because we're on all these city platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, we're on Nextdoor, and so we're really listening to residents from, array, and so I'm hearing these things, but I don't really think that they really understand that if this happens, it's over, it's
Yeah,
gone?
we have
Or
a small.
how does that work?
No, it's a great question. We have a small but mighty staff of folks doing economic development for the city. We have our amazing partners in the New Orleans Business Alliance. We are scrappy. We are gonna do the work every day. But the reality is, and I'll talk about this in a minute, the Economic Development Fund has been deeply impactful over the last 30 years, and I'll talk about some of the amazing projects and investments that fund has invested in the last 30 years. It is also going to be deeply impactful from this day forward. And without those resources, frankly, we all know, if you don't have the resources, you can't do the work in any way like what you want to do.
Don't we know that now during COVID more than any other time?
We do.
So wait, I'm just kind of letting all of that sink in right now. I'm letting all that sink in.
Yep.
So, what we hear this, how does this connect to people's tax bills, lowering or not lowering? Because that's kind of been on the table too. We're trying to understand how do the propositions connect with people's property tax bills. Because right now, everybody's hurting. If you can give me a deduction in any way, I want it. So can you explain that for me?
Totally get it. Yeah, so folks will see their property tax bills go down, and that is because of two things. One, as we already touched on, the millages that we are talking about today are going to be renewed at the exact same level, 5.82 mills. At the same time, the Board of Liquidation, which retires the city's bond debt, it's the entity responsible for paying the interest and principal on our bonds that we float. They actually reduced their millage. They voted on that in the last couple of weeks. So the average property owner in New Orleans will see their taxes go down, even if they vote in favor of all three of these millages.
Even if they vote in favor of all three, your property taxes will go down.
Yep.
I'm all for it. I think we've kind of hit up most of the questions that the residents have had regarding economic development millage. Is there anything extra that we need to know that we don't know?
Yeah. Right, so it's a great question. So I want to touch on two big points. One, what has this work done in the past? And I think a lot of times my fellow residents, my fellow tax-paying citizens of the city frequently ask, well, what is economic development? You know, I get housing, I get infrastructure. What is economic development?
It's like, okay, how does it affect me?
Absolutely.
It's like, you know, I'm working every day, I have my children.
That's
like,
right.
How does this affect my everyday life? How is it going to make my life better?
Yes.
That's really what I want to know.
Absolutely. Well, a couple of highlights from what ADF, the Economic Development Fund, has invested in the last 30 years. The city has funded its disparity study looking at racial equity and how that plays out in equitable economic development. We funded that work out of the Economic Development Fund. We funded, when our Office of Supplier Diversity was founded a couple of years ago, we funded that entire office out of the Economic Development Fund. We funded our incentives review. We funded so much of our COVID disaster response out of these dollars. So all of the outdoor dining investments that we made to support bars and restaurants, that is all funded out of the Economic Development Fund. All of our work supporting businesses to access PPP dollars and EIDL, if y'all remember those were all funded out of the Economic Development Fund resources that we have. And so, contrary to some accusations that this is a slush fund or that economic development is backed by a bunch of boogeymen, these are real dollars that the city can deploy very strategically to meet the needs of our businesses and our workers. We use this to fund some of our collaboration with the Office of Workforce Development, helping folks retrain and get credentials that help them pivot into higher wage industries. We use these dollars extremely strategically to the penny every single year for the last 29 years. I personally do not want to live in a city where we do not have economic development funds dedicated to these crucial issues every day. Going forward, I know that was a lot, but going forward,
But we needed to hear it.
Well, you know,
I need to hear it because
this is real.
So often we're not able to hear from the director and the departments that they're actually going to affect.
Yep.
So we want to talk to you. It's going to affect your department, your people, because we're all in this together.
We are.
We can't think that COVID didn't affect, city government just because we're city government. It affected all of us.
That's right. We're all hurting going through this, and the only way we come out of this stronger is if we take this opportunity to make the strategic investments that we need to, and you don't do that without resources. That's just straight up the way that the world works. And so going.
What? You need money? Go figure.
It would be surprising to some, but probably not most. And so going forward, what excites me even more than the amazing work that's happened in the last 30 years, I'm even more excited about the work that we're going to be doing over the next 20. And so just to outline that, we have a very targeted plan. It has 5 prongs, right? There are 5 big areas of work that we are going to be investing in. with these economic development fund dollars. One is place-based economic development. So anybody who has been to other places, I think, has seen the impacts of this work. But what it boils down to, when you set aside all the jargon, is that we are going to be much more intentional about where we make investments as a city and where we are driving private sector investment to. We've all seen the investment happening downtown. We've seen the hotels going up in recent years. It's wonderful. It's grown our tax base. I think it's a win-win. What we have not seen, and this is something very near and dear to my heart, is we haven't seen investment going out into neighborhoods. We haven't seen them hitting neighborhood commercial corridors. We haven't seen economic development aligning itself with community development, where we're investing in small businesses next to affordable housing projects or mixed income housing projects. We aren't seeing the alignment with transportation and public transit. These dollars are going to be deployed in a way that we are actually investing in our small businesses in place in every city, every community in the city. And so that is the way, the general bucket of work, what we call that work, is place-based economic development.
That is so interesting, and I'm glad you did that breakdown, because New Orleans is a city of neighborhoods.
It absolutely is.
And so if we can charge those economic engines in every neighborhood, imagine what our city of Yes could be.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a core part of our equitable economic development framework, because we know that we need to be more intentional about investing in our small businesses, our Black and brown businesses. We need to be creating wealth building opportunities in our neighborhoods and our commercial corridors.
I'm hearing it.
And that is fundamental to the work that we are already being very intentional about and will continue with these economic development fund dollars. So that's one big bucket of work. The second big bucket is what we call our catalytic redevelopment projects. So I'm not surprising anybody when I say that the city has not been the best steward of its own property, right?
Imagine that.
We own millions of square feet and thousands of acres of property that the city is going to be much more intentional about creating jobs, about creating affordable housing, and about creating community infrastructure.
But that's why we have this new office. That's why it was created.
That's exactly right. The Office of Business and External Services, right? Which, if I can boil it down to anything, and which I am so excited about, it is about creating concierge level, hospitality driven customer service for our businesses and residents. So
Wait, did y'all hear that? Say that one more time, Jeff.
I don't know if I could say all of it. It's hospitality and concierge level services for all of our residents and businesses. So the idea that you should be able to pull permits, get your occupational license, pay your taxes from your couch or office, right?
From your couch or office.
You should not have to come down to City Hall to do that for,
Right.
let's say, 80% of the things that you typically have to come downtown for. We are working on that, and that is something that I'm very...
We hear you.
We hear you, and we are...
hear you.
But this whole office, not just Office of Economic Development, but across the board, everybody is mission aligned around that. So that's another big bucket of work, making the city more business friendly. I already touched on place-based development and catalytic development. And the final two, since I know we're getting short on time, are workforce development. So we're going to be deeply investing in workforce development that connects people to opportunities in our priority industries. For example, the city, along with the New Orleans Business Alliance, just wrote an application to JP Morgan Chase, and we got $5 million. Yes, exactly, through the Advancing Cities opportunity that is investing in our water industry. We've heard about the water industry for the last 15 years since Katrina. We have not done enough to connect the dots, to connect workers and small businesses to those resources. We are going to be really intentional about doing that in the water industry, in the film industry, in the food industry.
Yes, film,
Yes.
because I just talked to them the other day, and we're growing so much in film.
We're the 4th or 5th largest production hub in the entire U.S.
Wait, say that again.
We're the 4th or 5th largest production hub in the U.S. We have a crew base of over 2,000 unionized members in the film industry in the city. We want to continue investing in that industry and many others. So we are going to be really intentional about that on the workforce side. And then the last big bucket is being really intentional about doing priority industry development, right? Making the investments that we know we need to make to truly be leaders in what we think are up to 10 industries that we can prioritize and really be national and international leaders in. So whether it's water, film, food, like I said before, life and biosciences, we already know we're heavy hitters in tourism and hospitality. We know that the green energy sector is one that we are making waves in, frankly, in wind and battery power.
Resilience in New Orleans, y'all better pay attention.
It's a
We're
huge
on the map. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So, those are the 5 big buckets of work that we are investing in. We cannot do that work without these resources. And so I would just urge folks to get educated and really understand how important these investments are. And they carry the fate of our economic development in their hands on December 5th.
Say that again.
They carry the weight of our economic development in their hands on December 5th.
So for those viewers who are, coming in towards the end, as we, close out today, just want to go through a couple more things. Is this a renewal or an increase?
It's a renewal. No, it is not an increase. It is a renewal.
So it's a renewal. Okay, gotcha. And second, short impact if it doesn't pass.
If it doesn't pass, we cannot do the economic development work the city desperately needs without these funds.
And that's it, y'all. This is our first installment of We Hear You. And so we're listening to, what's going on. We're listening to your comments. We're listening to your suggestions. Let us know what you're interested in, and we will pop in the department and ask the questions that you want to know. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.